From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordo, and this is your News 8 Daily for Monday, September 1st. It is Labor Day, and we are off to a beautiful start. Mostly sunny skies, comfortable conditions. We're starting out cool. We dipped to the 50s this morning. We're going to get to the low 80s. It's going to be mostly clear even into the evening. The temps will dip down to about the mid-50s. Breaking news, at least 800 people are dead and 2,500 people are injured in Afghanistan this morning after an earthquake near the border with Pakistan. That's according to the Taliban government. It says the 6.0 magnitude quake hit at around 11:45 last night, destroying several villages in the eastern part of the country in the province of Kunar. The epicenter is 150 miles east of the country's capital of Kabul. Disaster management authorities in the country say the earthquake hit many rural areas, which have not been able to report injuries or deaths yet. As we get updates, we will bring it to you on wishtv.com. Here in Indianapolis, multiple tents remain in Fountain Square 3 weeks after the city's deadline to clear it out. IT Mate's Kyla Russell talked to people still living there about what's next and whether they plan to move.
On Sunday, there were still 11 tents up along Leonard Street, only 6 less than what there was 20 days ago, right before the city's August 11th deadline to clear out. The owner of one tent, Heather Drummond, is someone I've told you about for weeks now. She says the city stepped up and she'll have an apartment in about 2 weeks.
I just made the best of it.
Heather Drummond is showing me inside her new tent along Leonard Street.
If I'm comfortable, organized, then I am perfect to deal with this life, you know what I mean, and to help anybody that comes to me.
3 weeks ago, as the city's deadline to clear out quickly approached, she was showing me her bed in another tent on the same street, with plans only to move to a different encampment.
This is my 2-room tent.
The deadline was put in place after some nearby homeowners said the camp made them feel unsafe, and there were 2 arrests involving people living there. At the time, Drummond was upset, telling me the city wasn't helping them find a place to live despite promising to provide resources. But now that's changed.
I want to let you all know that they are finally coming through for us through Horizon and through the HIP, who was temporarily closed, but they've got our names on a list for discount, you know what I mean, for affordable housing.
She says everyone at the camp is working with the city's Streets to Home initiative and should have a housing plan in the next 2 weeks.
Bring us pictures and the address of the house location, and we'll pick apartment. We have a choice between 1 and 4 apartments.
3 homeowners in the area say it's a welcome change, as the area has continued to be disturbed by the encampment. One woman told me she had to call 911 3 days ago because a fight broke out at the camp. 2 others tell me it's been difficult to sell their homes. Drummond says several people have tried to put up a tent since the deadline passed, but IMPD has been by every day to monitor.
The police will come on Monday. They'll be here on Monday morning, you know, to make sure that everybody here is on the list. If not, they'll run them off. I had a friend in my tent, and they said, next time I come here, if you're here, you'll go to jail for no trespassing.
Drummond tells me she's keeping her things packed up right here, ready for when she gets the green light for move-in.
By the 18th of September, we will all out here be housed.
Drummond tells me most people who left the camp before Streets to Home stepped in likely just moved their tents to other camps in the city. I'm Kyla Russell for Wish TV and wishtv.com.
A man wanted for murder in Chicago is in custody this morning after several central Indiana departments teamed up to arrest him. According to the Tipton County Sheriff's Office, a traffic camera spotted the wanted man, Carlos Keith, in Kokomo. That led deputies to find and follow him south on US 31, while they also alerted authorities in Hamilton County to set up ahead of them. The Sheriff's Office says it ended at 236th Street, where officers from several agencies were waiting. They arrested Keith and say they found marijuana and cash on him. Local radio giant and former Wish TV host Super Jay Johnson has died. Johnson's son says his father passed away after a long illness. His career in radio and television spanned more than 50 years. Johnson hosted Black Focus here on Wish TV back in the 80s. He also served as an instrumental part of the Indiana Black Expo and Circle City Classic. Jay Johnson was 78 years old. In the redistricting debate, Indiana Congressman Jim Baird says he wants to see state lawmakers redraw his district. He sat down with News 8 government reporter Garrett Bergquist for this week's episode of All Indiana Politics.
Census data showed the population of Baird's district has grown more quickly than that of either the two Democratic districts, which he borders. State lawmakers usually only redraw districts every 10 years after the census. I asked him why he believes the map should be changed right before a midterm election.
Well, I think it's important that we make sure that we have people represented in those districts and that they have appropriate representation. And I think President Trump won Indiana the last time very well. And so we want to make sure that we have input from those voters that want to know where the country's headed. So,
what's wrong with the current map, though? Republican leaders at the time said the map was perfect.
Well, I think there's been a lot of migration or people migration, geographical migration since that time. I think it is appropriate to take a look at it and review it and see if we don't make sure that we eliminate any natural boundaries, make sure people have a chance to have input into where the election goes. And I think it's appropriate to have that kind of review. And you know, there's always the opportunity to make sure that some of the natural barriers that occur and may be in these current maps, is there a way to take those out? You know, if we divide a city or a town or someplace right down the middle, it really is nice to keep those communities together so they vote in the same district or same area. So we could look at those kind of things.
But you already redraw the maps every 10 years once the new census data comes out. Why not just wait until the next census?
Because what I just mentioned earlier, I think we've had some people migration into other areas, and want to make sure we still have the appropriate population and that the district represents the appropriate population.
You can catch in-depth interviews with your elected officials just like that every Sunday on All Indiana Politics. It airs at 9:30 Sunday mornings right here on Wish TV. I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Local experts are weighing in with worries about the Trump administration's pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. Our team talked to an IU professor who says the chief concern when cutting rates is that it could increase inflation. The pressure includes last week's attempt to fire one of the Fed board members. The professor says such moves add to international uncertainty for Indiana's biggest industries, especially farming.
Agriculture. And so we have to see what does that mean with the trade with Mexico here particularly. Mexico is a big supplier in agriculture, but we have also demand from Indiana agricultural product.
He also says the local pharmaceutical industry could see negative impacts. Mass resumes Sunday at the church in Minnesota where a school shooting last week killed 2 children and wounded 15 more. Pope Leo has joined local leaders in calling on lawmakers for change. Jen Sullivan reports.
Outside Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, the memorial grows for the victims of Wednesday's mass shooting.
We are here as believers, Catholics, to support this Christian community.
Wednesday morning, a shooter opened fire outside this Catholic school, aiming into the church, shattering windows as students gathered during Mass. 10-year-old Harper Moisky and 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel were killed. 18 other people were wounded.
I could have got between those bullets.
Father Zarin opening up about the terrifying moments that he witnessed inside. These glass windows now boarded up following the horror of what happened.
Take my yoke upon you.
Sunday Mass packed with parishioners.
We are in a very low place. It's a place that we could never have imagined, even in our worst nightmares.
As this community grieves, the head of the Catholic world sending a stern message.
Our prayers for the victims of the tragic shooting during a school mass in the American state of Minnesota. Let us plead God to stop the pandemic of arms, large and small, which infects our world.
Many Minnesota leaders now demanding action.
It is important for us to make sure that we are offering a slew of solutions. One is to make sure that we are getting rid of assault weapons in our community.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is also reportedly considering holding a special session on gun legislation. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Back here at home, happening today, the final day of racing at the NHRA Nationals in Brownsburg. It's at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. News 8's Hernan Gutierrez went to the track this morning.
Races will start here in a little bit over an hour and a half at 10. Here to tell us a little bit more about what's going on here in the pits, we have Max Orsini with NHRA. And Max, tell us a little bit about, kind of walk us through where we're at. We mentioned last hour that you guys open up the pits for fans. So what can people expect if they're coming here this morning and walking around?
Yeah, right now the cars are getting ready to warm up. You can see behind us Ron Capps' team, one of the lead funny car drivers here at the NHRA. They're getting their car ready to go shortly here. They'll fire it up, test it, make sure all systems are good to go before bringing it out into the staging lanes for today's Cornwall Quality Tools U.S. Nationals.
So you kind of picked here, one, because it was convenient from where we're coming, but you also mentioned that this team has a driver to watch. Who are some of the other drivers that we should be watching?
Yes, some of the drivers to watch today. Brittany Force, for sure. She's been one of the fastest drivers in NHRA Top Fuel this year. She ran 343 miles an hour in Sonoma earlier this year. We've also got a couple great drivers. Tony Schumacher, one of the best at the U.S. Nationals in history, is returning this week for the U.S. Nationals. And Austin Prock, he is currently the leader in funny car this year in NHRA. He won yesterday's Play NHRA All-Star Funny Car Call-Out, and he's in a prime position to potentially look to repeat today.
Do you have a favorite moment from or this weekend so far?
Yeah, for me, it was yesterday. Sean Langdon ran the fastest time in IRP history yesterday, 340.9 miles an hour in Top Fuel. It was quite a moment for the track. We love making history here during the U.S. Nationals, and we hope to make more today during Elimination Monday.
All right, Max, I appreciate your time this morning. Again, gates are now open. The fan walk, they'll be able to start walking on the track at 9. We're hoping to maybe catch a driver at that time, so be sure to tune in next hour to have a conversation with one of the drivers here, and the racing that'll start at 10. Reporting in Brownsburg, I'm Hernan Gutierrez for WishTV and WishTV.com.
In IndyCar, David Malukas says he is out of the hospital and healthy and well after a hard hit in the final event in IndyCar's season. The rising young star gave the thumbs up on X. Malukas was contending for the lead when Lewis Foster pinched him up high on lap 83. Malukas spun backward and into the wall. Joseph Newgarden ended up winning the race, holding off series champ Alex Palou for Newgarden's first win of the season, and also acknowledged the uncertain future surrounding a teammate.
It's rewarding for our team. They've done a great job. Obviously, Will won in Portland, which was a huge lift for everybody, and he really deserved it. And I think he could have won this race today. It was a shame to see what happened to him. He's a legend. I was on the radio. I was like, you guys see Will? What a legend. But it's great for our team, Stemo, Team Chevy. So, tough year, but good to get a win here at the end.
Will is Will Power, who was leading when he made a mistake in the pits Sunday and got a penalty. Many in the sport expect Power to lose his seat with Team Penske in the offseason due to David Malukas. The Fever take a hard loss on the road last night against the Golden State Valkyries. The final score was 75-63. Fever are now 8th in the final playoff spot with 4 games left in the season. Caitlin Clark was still on the sidelines for an 18th straight game with her groin injury. Fever head to Phoenix tomorrow to take on the Mercury. Tip-off is at 10 p.m. Notre Dame's national title hopes have taken a hit on the first full weekend of college football. Last night in Miami, the Irish and the Miami Hurricanes clashing for the first time in 8 years. It was Miami most of the way. Notre Dame did take a late comeback, but Miami prevailed. It's been 20 years since Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. In late August of 2005, our crews traveled with Indiana Task Force 1 as first responders helped people in need there. News 8's Phil Sanchez gives us a look at the coverage and part of our Wishtery series.
Here's the thing about Katrina.
Katrina aftermath. The prediction, this is the nation's deadliest natural disaster.
Find out if they know anything.
Searching the destruction.
This is Gulfport, Mississippi after Katrina.
24-hour News 8 Steve Ray is in the disaster zone with Indiana Task Force 1.
Ruthie called me and she said, can you go to Louisiana with Steve Bray? And I said,
get a phone call. Hey, John, we need you to go down south. There's a hurricane down there.
And she said, I need to know now, because if you can't, I got to go to the next photographer. And I said, okay.
And I said, okay, when do you want me to leave? Tomorrow? And because this was a Sunday. He goes, no, like right now.
By 2005, Wish TV staffers John Koser and Bill Fisher had worked at the station for quite a while. John since 1992 and Bill since 1973.
News 8 photographer Bill Fisher was sent to Vietnam in 1968, where he recorded the war on film. Today he shoots videotape, but carries a still camera wherever he goes.
I've been carrying a still camera since I was 16.
While capturing film or later video of the news, Bill would also capture moments as photographs.
Now, I put them up at home, but I thought it'd be nice to have something at work. And so I bought a frame and a little easel. Every once in a while I'd go, okay, here's a new nice picture.
And in the process, he created a behind-the-scenes archive of life here at Wish TV for decades.
My daughter said, Dad, I think you need to take something with you. I don't know. I don't think so. She goes, Dad, I insist. So we went to the store and we bought 2 flats of water, Pringles potato chips, Slim Jims.
Clothes, gear, and everything like that. Put that in old Unit 10 and came down here, picked up Steve Bray.
The trio had covered countless disasters in their careers, but Katrina, well, that was different.
24-hour News 8 is in the disaster zone.
Hundreds of evacuees from the Gulf Coast and New Orleans came here to Meridian, Mississippi to evade Katrina, only to find she followed them here.
Bill, John, and Steve arrived before Katrina made landfall and rode out the storm while sheltering in the satellite truck.
We were kind of sheltered. We were next to a building, and I'm sitting in the cab of the truck looking at everything going by. I got on the phone and I called my friend Jeff, and I said, man, you ought to see this. I said, I just saw a stop sign going end over end down the street like a ball. And he goes, where are you? I said, I'm in the cab of the truck. John, get out of there. You're surrounded by glass.
Indiana's Task Force 1 rolled out from Meridian, Mississippi this morning, destination the Gulf Coast. Under post-storm sunshine, Katrina's impact was clear well inland.
Katrina was the rare catastrophe that was worse than first reported.
The storm surge from Katrina, the wall of water that came onshore as the hurricane made landfall, was estimated by some to be 10 to 15 feet. By others, more like 25 feet, ripping homes off of their foundation.
Most of the sort of signature pictures tend to come from helicopters and airplanes, or drones these days, and the aerial view is super important. But it was only then when you got on the ground where your camera is, face to face with a life-size person rather than some small speck on the ground, do you realize just how intense all of this was and how permanently those lives were going to change.
The only place for me to go is right back in.
You cannot go back in there.
Why not?
Because the structure is unsafe and we are not letting you back in there.
It really goes through you when you finally realize we might not live.
He's trying to keep my auntie now from drowning. He's putting them on furniture up on the kitchen counter.
And as she was on the 3rd floor, water was still coming up. And she said, I got on my knees and I prayed and I said, God, please help me, because I just don't know what I'm going to do here.
For about 5 days, they followed Indiana Task Force 1 and documented the difficult work in the area. With buildings leveled and lodging in short supply, our team made the satellite truck their home. At times, Steve Bray even slept on the roof.
And John Koser has this incredible ability to sleep sitting up, and he slept in the driver's seat.
Relief arrived in the form of an RV, driven by Chief Photographer Steve Schweitzer, accompanied by another crew, Marley Ginter and David Hodge, and engineer Tom Weber.
We had to try and find some way to make life palatable for them to stay down there.
Okay, once we get set up, we'd like the 3 of you to take a shower.
I remember being able to take a shower in that motorhome. I was like, oh, this is so nice.
The extra crew meant that more stories could be told. Stories of Hoosiers helping others, and of Hoosiers helping family.
Brian Bedford drove all the way from Indianapolis to his cousin's house in Biloxi, Mississippi.
This gives you an idea of just how much water came into the house. This is the water line on the front door.
For 10 days, Wish TV covered the impact of Hurricane Katrina, and Bill Fisher's little point-and-shoot camera told our story.
I thought, I'm not making some big documentary on that, but I thought, it's something part of what goes on here.
That was Phil Sanchez reporting. Many of the pictures in this story are from Bill Fisher's collection that he shared with us. Our crew sent so many firsthand stories of Hurricane Katrina's destruction and the people it impacted. We've put together a compilation of those stories on wishtv.com. Just find the Wishtery section. This has been your News 8 Daily from Wish TV. I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and wishtv.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.